Well, today, we're diving into the profound wisdom of one of the greatest financial minds of our time, Charlie Munger, who explained exactly why building wealth feels so impossible at the beginning. Stay with me until the end, because understanding this concept could completely transform your financial future. Have you ever wondered why the first $100,000 is so hard to reach? Have you ever felt like you're running on a financial treadmill, working hard, but never actually getting ahead? You save a little money only to watch it disappear on an unexpected bill or repair. Has this ever happened to you? That cycle of almost reaching a milestone, only to slide backward yet again. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. According to Munger, the first $100,000 is brutally difficult to accumulate because, as he bluntly puts it, nothing compounds to nothing. It's the financial equivalent of trying to push a massive boulder from a complete standstill. The initial force required is enormous, and progress feels painfully slow. Until you reach this critical threshold, you're not even truly in the wealth-building game. You're merely pretending. Think about it. When you save $1,000 and it earns just $20 in a year, the return feels laughably insignificant. This is precisely why most people give up. They'd rather enjoy immediate gratification than plant tiny seeds for tomorrow. But what you're about to discover might surprise you. Once that boulder starts rolling, momentum begins working in your favor instead of against you. Munger's perspective on wealth wasn't theoretical. It was forged in the crucible of real hardship. Born in 1924 during the Great Depression, he witnessed firsthand what true financial desperation looks like. His grandfather went bankrupt. His father, a lawyer, struggled to maintain clients who simply couldn't pay. All around him, respectable families crumbled under economic pressure. This wasn't just another recession or market correction. It was a complete economic collapse that shaped an entire generation's relationship with money. For young Charlie, these weren't abstract lessons from textbooks, but vivid, painful realities unfolding before his eyes. What would you do if you watched your family and neighbors lose everything? How would it change your perspective on financial security? These experiences instilled in Munger a bone-deep determination to move through life with money rather than without it. He understood on a visceral level that financial weakness doesn't just affect your bank account, it seeps into every aspect of your existence, from your relationships to your sense of dignity. The wisdom Munger gained through these early hardships became the foundation for financial principles that would eventually help build Berkshire Hathaway into one of the most successful investment vehicles in history. But what exactly did he learn from watching an entire society run out of money? And how can those lessons help you push past the seemingly impossible barrier of your first $100,000? If you're committed to building real wealth through time-tested principles rather than get-rich-quick schemes, hit that subscribe button and join our community of patient investors. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring the hidden truth behind reaching that critical financial milestone. You see, Munger discovered something profound through his journey. A revelation that explains why so few people ever break through to financial freedom. To accumulate your first $100,000, you must adopt behaviors that most people simply refuse to embrace. The path requires a complete mindset transformation that runs counter to our society's instant gratification culture. You must save money when it feels utterly pointless. You must continue investing when the numbers seem trivially small. And perhaps most challenging of all, you must resist the powerful social pressure to mimic your neighbors who flaunt shiny new possessions purchased on credit. This disciplined approach demands making decisions that might seem strange or even foolish to others around you. While friends upgrade to larger homes with hefty mortgages or lease luxury cars they can barely afford, you're quietly allocating funds toward investments that won't show meaningful returns for years. The psychological impact of this choice shouldn't be underestimated. You're essentially choosing delayed gratification in a world obsessed with immediate rewards. Most people abandon the journey because the early returns feel insultingly small. When you invest $1,000 and earn just $20 in a year, your brain registers this as insignificant, hardly worth the sacrifice. Our minds aren't naturally wired to appreciate how those seemingly trivial sums, consistently contributed over time, eventually become formidable. The real transformation happens beneath the surface, invisible to those seeking quick results. But here's where Munger's wisdom reveals something extraordinary about the wealth-building journey. Once you cross that $100,000 threshold, a fundamental shift occurs. Suddenly, the compounding engine that seemed barely operational begins working. Powerfully in your favor, the numbers become visible in a way that fundamentally changes your perception. When you earn 10% on $100,000, that's $10,000, an amount substantial enough to feel genuinely worth the effort. The entire texture of the financial journey changes at this point. Munger describes it perfectly. It transforms from digging through wet cement with a spoon to slicing through butter with a hot knife. This isn't just a mathematical reality, it's a profound psychological one. Your relationship with money evolves as you witness meaningful returns that validate your earlier sacrifices. What most people never understand is that wealth accumulation follows this predictable pattern. The beginning is unbearably difficult. The middle becomes increasingly tolerable, and the end becomes almost inevitable. The financial momentum that once required exhausting effort to generate now propels itself forward with a force that seems almost magical. Yet it's simply mathematics playing out over time. The critical question becomes, can you endure the difficult beginning phase long enough to reach the point where compounding takes over? Can you maintain discipline when results are invisible to everyone, including yourself? If you can identify with this challenge, write in the comments, "I'm pushing the boulder," because that's exactly what this initial phase feels like. Let's talk about what might be the most surprising revelation from Munger's wealth philosophy, the simplicity of it all. When people imagine becoming wealthy, they often picture complex investment strategies, insider knowledge, or exceptional intelligence. But according to Munger, the entire secret to building wealth is remarkably straightforward. Just be slightly less stupid than the average person. This candid insight strips away the mystique surrounding wealth creation and reveals the fundamental mindset shift required. The formula itself isn't complicated. Don't envy others. Don't overspend, don't borrow excessively, and don't chase hot investment tips. These principles sound almost disappointingly basic, yet they represent the cornerstone of authentic financial transformation. What's fascinating is that these rules aren't difficult to understand. They're difficult to follow consistently. Our brains are wired to compare ourselves to others, to seek immediate gratification through spending, and to hope for shortcuts to wealth. Munger's genius lies in recognizing that resistance to these natural tendencies is what separates the financially successful from everyone else. He expressed this truth with characteristic bluntness. Nobody can help you if you don't save. This statement cuts through all financial illusions. If a person spends everything they earn, there's simply no investment genius, not Warren Buffett, not Charlie Munger, not even a divine entity that can rescue their financial future. The journey begins with the humbling decision to live on less than you make. Munger didn't just preach these principles, he embodied them throughout his life's journey. Even as a young attorney who wasn't earning significant income, he consistently saved portions of his earnings, purchased a few carefully selected stocks, and maintained a simple lifestyle. The revelation here isn't just what he did, but what he didn't do. He refused to buy things merely to impress people he didn't even care about. This deliberate choice reflects a profound understanding of human psychology. Most spending beyond our basic needs is driven by social comparison and status anxiety rather than genuine fulfillment. By rejecting this pattern, Munger freed himself from the consumption treadmill that traps so many in perpetual financial mediocrity. What's truly remarkable about Munger's approach is the consistency between early and late-stage wealth building. The same humble principles that help you accumulate your first $100,000 are identical to those that eventually create genuine prosperity. There's no secret second phase with different rules, just the compounding impact of disciplined decisions over decades. Behind the scenes of Munger's wealth wasn't some brilliant stroke of investment genius or lucky timing in markets. It was the quiet, unglamorous commitment to fundamentals that most people understand, but few practice. His story reveals that financial success isn't about discovering hidden secrets, but about having the character to implement obvious truths when everyone around you is doing the opposite. If you find yourself nodding along to these principles, but struggling to implement them in your own life, write in the comments, "Simple, but not easy." Because that's exactly what makes this journey so challenging. This brings us to what I consider one of the most profound paradoxes in wealth building, a truth that few financial advisors will ever share with such clarity. The journey of accumulating wealth follows an almost predictable, emotional pattern that feels almost like a universal law. The beginning is unbearable. The middle becomes increasingly tolerable, and the end becomes virtually inevitable. That first phase, where you're pushing toward $100,000, often feels like pure suffering. The sacrifices are immediate and painful, while the benefits remain distant and theoretical. You're essentially making a spiritual bargain with your future self, promising present pain for future liberation. Munger frames this choice with brutal honesty. Are you willing to suffer now so you don't have to suffer later? This perspective represents a radical breakthrough from conventional financial thinking. Most advice focuses on technical strategies, which investments to choose, what percentage to save, how to optimize tax situations. But Munger cuts straight to the psychological core of wealth building. The real barrier isn't mathematical comprehension, but emotional endurance. Subscribe now to access more financial wisdom that cuts through the noise and focuses on what actually builds lasting wealth. I'm bringing Munger's timeless insights to today's financial challenges. Those who manage to push through this challenging initial phase often look back and wonder why everyone else remains stuck at zero. From their vantage point of growing financial freedom, the path seems obvious. Yet this highlights another revelation. We humans are notoriously bad at valuing our future selves. We consistently prioritize immediate pleasure over long-term well-being, a tendency that creates lifelong financial struggles for most people. Speaking of psychological barriers to wealth, Munger identified another silent wealth killer that sabotages more financial journeys than almost any other factor: envy. With characteristic bluntness, he called it the dumbest of all sins, because it's the only one where you get absolutely nothing in return. Think about that insight for a moment. Other financial vices at least provide some temporary benefit. Gluttony gives you a good meal, lust provides fleeting pleasure, and even greed might occasionally make you richer. But envy? It only makes you miserable that someone else has more. Munger compared it to lighting yourself on fire to spite your neighbor, a vivid metaphor that captures the self-destructive nature of comparison. The hidden truth behind envy's destructive power is how it warps our decision-making process. It blinds us to our authentic needs and values, making us chase things we don't even genuinely want simply because others possess them. This creates a perpetual dissatisfaction that no amount of acquisition can satisfy. Behind the scenes, this financial sin manifests in countless small decisions. The upgraded car purchased on credit because your colleague just got one, the lavish vacation funded by credit cards because your social media feed is filled with friends' travel photos, the larger house with the crushing mortgage because it matches your perception of success. Each decision might seem isolated, but collectively they create a pattern of financial self-sabotage that prevents true wealth accumulation. If you've ever made a purchase and later realized it was driven more by comparison than genuine desire, write in the comments, "Envy trap." You're certainly not alone in this universal struggle. Let's explore how envy doesn't just affect our emotions. It directly attacks our financial foundation in ways most people never recognize. Munger identified a direct correlation between comparison and consumption that reveals a profound insight about human behavior. The more you compare yourself to others, the less you'll actually save. This isn't just philosophical wisdom, it's a practical reality that plays out in bank accounts across the world. Consider the subtle transformation that happens when your neighbor drives home in a shiny new car. Suddenly, your perfectly functional vehicle starts to feel inadequate, outdated, even embarrassing. Or when your social media feed fills with friends posting photos from European vacations, you begin to feel entitled to similar experiences, regardless of whether your financial situation supports such spending. This pattern represents one of the most dangerous psychological traps on the journey to financial freedom. What begins as a harmless observation quickly evolves into discontent, then justification, and finally action, usually in the form of spending that directly undermines your wealth-building efforts. The hidden truth is that envy doesn't just make you unhappy, it systematically destroys your savings rate. Munger puts this revelation in characteristically blunt terms. The world is full of people spending money they don't have to impress people they don't even like. This statement cuts through all the marketing, social pressure, and status anxiety to expose the fundamental absurdity of consumption-driven lifestyles. Behind the scenes of many impressive-looking lives are crushing debt loads, neglected savings accounts, and financial fragility that remains invisible until crisis strikes. Shifting gears slightly, Munger confesses to a personal financial misstep that cost him tens of millions of dollars, a mistake many investors continue to repeat. Surprisingly, his biggest regret wasn't about buying the wrong investments, but about selling the right ones too early. When a sound business he owned doubled in price, he congratulated himself on his cleverness, sold his position, and watched in dismay as the company went on to multiply 10 or 20 times afterward. This revelation disrupts conventional thinking about investing. Most people assume the challenging part is identifying what to buy. Munger's journey reveals the opposite truth. The hardest part is sitting still once you own something valuable. It's sitting while nothing happens, sitting while everyone else jumps in and out of positions, sitting while the financial media screams that you should be doing something. This insight reveals a profound decision point that separates successful investors from the rest. The real wealth creation doesn't happen in the buying or selling, but in the waiting, allowing compounding to work its magic over extended periods. Yet this approach demands a psychological fortitude that runs counter to our natural wiring. We're programmed for action, for the dopamine hit of activity, for the illusion of control that comes from constant movement. Warren Buffett, Munger's longtime business partner, famously said that his favorite holding period is forever. This wasn't poetic exaggeration, but mathematical rationality. The true catalyst for exceptional returns isn't just finding great businesses, but having the emotional discipline to hold them through the inevitable ups and downs of markets. If you've ever sold an investment too early and regretted it later, drop "patience pays" in the comments. It's a lesson most of us learn the hard way. Moving beyond investment patience, let's examine another hidden destroyer of wealth that Munger identified with remarkable clarity. A psychological trap that has bankrupted countless intelligent people. The world is populated with individuals who are absolutely certain about things they know virtually nothing about. This toxic cocktail of ignorance mixed with overconfidence creates a perfect storm for financial disaster. What makes this revelation so powerful is that it contradicts our cultural celebration of certainty. We admire leaders who project unwavering confidence. We follow financial gurus who make bold predictions, and we're drawn to decisive action over thoughtful hesitation. Yet beneath this facade lies a profound truth. Many people go broke not because they lack intelligence, but because they have excessive confidence in fundamentally flawed opinions. Munger's journey revealed an unexpected insight about true wisdom. As he matured as an investor, he discovered that the genuinely smart people weren't those who had all the answers, but those who could quickly and comfortably admit, "I don't know." This simple three-word phrase, which most find incredibly difficult to utter, becomes a powerful shield against the overconfidence that destroys wealth. The transformation happens when we recognize that financial markets don't reward certainty, they reward accuracy. Being confidently wrong is far more dangerous than being cautiously uncertain. Behind the scenes of most financial disasters, you'll find someone who was absolutely convinced of something that turned out to be fundamentally false. This brings us to one of Munger's most practical mindset shifts, the concept of the circle of competence. This powerful framework liberates you from the exhausting pressure of needing to understand everything. Instead, it focuses on a single critical skill: knowing the boundaries of what you know and refusing to step outside them. Most people instinctively resist boundaries, viewing them as limitations on their potential. Yet in investing, Munger discovered that limits are actually liberating. They create a protective perimeter that keeps you safe and prevents you from wandering into territory where professionals will eagerly take advantage of amateurs. The revelation here is counterintuitive but profound. Strength comes not from expanding your knowledge infinitely, but from clearly defining its edges. When you build a circle of competence, you gain the clarity to say yes to investments you genuinely understand, and an equally important ability to say no to everything else, regardless of how appealing the potential returns might seem. This approach runs directly against our natural impulse toward endless expansion. We're taught from childhood that more is better, more knowledge, more options, more opportunities. Yet, Munger's journey revealed that disciplined limitation often creates better results than undisciplined expansion. The most successful investors aren't those who chase every opportunity, but those who patiently wait for opportunities that align with their established expertise. If you've ever felt pressured to have an opinion on every investment trend or market movement only to make decisions you later regretted, drop "Know my circle" in the comments. Embracing this principle could transform your financial decision-making forever. Now let's explore what might be Munger's most revolutionary mindset shift, one that challenges the very foundation of how most people approach their financial lives. Munger observed that the majority of people spend their entire lives thinking like employees rather than owners. This fundamental distinction shapes every aspect of their financial journey, often with devastating long-term consequences. The employee mindset follows a predictable pattern: climb corporate ladders, polish resumes, chase impressive titles, and live for the approval of bosses and institutions. This approach feels safe and structured, providing the comfort of regular paychecks and clear metrics for success. Yet Munger identified the devastating revelation that awaits at the end of this path. Many wake up at 65, wondering why they have nothing substantial to show for decades of work beyond a pension and perhaps a gold watch. The transformation occurs when you shift from trading time for money to building ownership. The real, enduring wealth comes not from salaries, but from owning things, businesses, equity, or assets that generate value while you sleep. This fundamental shift represents a complete paradigm reversal in how most people approach their financial lives. Consider the contrasting questions that drive these two mindsets. The careerist asks, how do I get ahead this year? How do I impress my boss? How do I earn a larger salary? The owner asks, how do I build something that lasts? How do I make this pile of capital work for decades? How do I create a value independent of my daily labor? These divergent questions lead to entirely different life trajectories. The irony Munger identified is that careerism often feels safer in the short term while creating greater vulnerability in the long term. The ownership path involves more immediate uncertainty, but leads to greater independence and security over time. The career path rewards you with breadcrumbs, incremental raises and occasional promotions. The ownership path rewards you with compounding, potentially unlimited upside that grows exponentially. Behind this ownership revelation lies another of Munger's brutally honest insights. A simple formula for staying poor. If you want to guarantee financial struggle, just embrace 3 deadly poisons. Load up on debt, surround yourself with fools, and add plenty of drama to your daily life. This toxic cocktail, according to Munger, has ruined more lives than stock market crashes ever did. Let's examine each poison. Debt functions as a noose that may not feel tight initially, but inevitably constricts over time. What begins as manageable monthly payments often transforms into a crushing burden that prevents true financial progress. Drama, whether through toxic relationships, unnecessary conflicts, or constant crises, wastes precious energy that could otherwise be directed toward productive endeavors and compounding wealth. And perhaps most insidiously, surrounding yourself with unreliable, dishonest, or simply unintelligent people creates a gravitational pull that inevitably drags your own decision-making downward. The profound insight here isn't just financial, but holistic. These 3 poisons don't just impact your bank account, they affect your entire life trajectory. If one of these toxic elements has been holding back your financial progress, drop "cutting the poison" in the comments. Identifying the problem is the first step toward transforming your financial future. Let's take a closer look at a remarkable anomaly that defies conventional business wisdom: the extraordinary partnership between Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. While the vast majority of business partnerships collapse into disappointment, litigation, or bitter resentment, theirs thrived for more than 6 decades. This extraordinary collaboration offers profound insights about success that extend far beyond finance. The foundation of their partnership reveals an essential truth about human connection. They trusted each other completely, not partially, not conditionally, but with absolute faith in each other's character and judgment. When Warren told Charlie something, Charlie believed it without question. When Charlie shared information with Warren, no verification was needed. This level of trust eliminated the silent killer that destroys most partnerships: suspicion. Beyond trust, their relationship showcased the power of complementary strengths. Buffett tended toward optimism, while Munger leaned toward skepticism. Buffett spotted opportunities where others saw nothing, while Munger identified dangers that others overlooked. Alone, each man might have been good. Together, they created something extraordinary. This balance represents a profound insight about successful partnerships. Differences, when properly aligned, become strengths rather than weaknesses. The hidden truth behind their decades of success wasn't just compatible personalities, but shared fundamental values. Both men despised debt, valued patience, and believed in owning exceptional businesses for the long term. When partners agree on core principles, they avoid wasting energy fighting about tactics. This alignment created a decision-making framework that withstood countless market cycles and economic transformations. People often assume Buffett and Munger never disagreed. This misconception misses a crucial insight about productive relationships. They argued frequently, but they argued productively. If Buffett believed an investment was worthwhile and Munger thought it was foolish, he said so directly. If Buffett's reasoning prevailed, they moved forward. If not, they passed. No bruised egos, no power struggles, just rational evaluation, a revelation about how intellectual disagreement can strengthen rather than damage relationships. After exploring all these sophisticated investment principles and partnership dynamics, Munger's ultimate revelation about wealth might surprise you with its simplicity. He never actually planned to become a billionaire. He just overshot his targets. The formula for wealth, according to Munger, is insultingly simple. Spend less than you earn, invest the difference in something sensible, let compounding work its magic, and wait longer than everyone else. Follow this basic formula for several decades, and you'll appear brilliant. Not because you discovered some hidden secret, but because you demonstrated uncommon patience. Munger emphasized that true financial success isn't about intellectual brilliance, but about emotional stubbornness, the ability to endure years of sitting still, waiting patiently, and ignoring the constant noise of financial markets and media. This insight contradicts our cultural worship of financial complexity. We're drawn to sophisticated trading strategies, technical indicators, and market timing techniques. Yet Munger suggests these activities often distract from the simple disciplines that actually build wealth. If Munger's straightforward formula resonates with you, type "stubborn investor" in the comments. Sometimes the simplest truths are the most powerful. As we've journeyed through Munger's financial wisdom together, I hope you've discovered that true wealth building isn't about complex strategies or brilliant market timing. It's about consistent application of timeless principles that anyone can understand, but few have the discipline to follow. The path to financial independence isn't complicated, but it does require something increasingly rare in our instant gratification world: patience. I share these insights because they've transformed not just my understanding of money, but my entire approach to life's challenges. If something in today's conversation resonated with your own financial journey, whether it's pushing that initial boulder, fighting the envy trap, or embracing the owner's mindset, I'd love to hear about it. Drop Munger wisdom in the comments to let me know which principle hit home for you. The conversations we have here go beyond just finance. They're about building a mindset that leads to freedom in all areas of life. If you found value in today's discussion, consider subscribing to join our community of thoughtful investors focused on long-term principles rather than short-term noise. And if this conversation helped clarify your own financial path, a simple like helps others discover these timeless insights as well. I've prepared a video right here that explores how to practically apply Munger's principles to today's unique financial challenges. It's the perfect companion to what we've discussed today. Click it and let's continue this conversation about building lasting wealth through time-tested wisdom.